Have you been wondering about or considering attending Tony Robbins' Unleash the Power Within? Well, this is a seminar that I have attended 3 times and have sent multiple friends and family to. In this video, I'll break down what happens there and why you might or might not want to attend. That's right. I don't believe seminars like this are for everyone. And though I've attended this seminar 3 times, there are parts of this program that I absolutely still do not enjoy. So stay tuned if you want the good, the bad, and the ugly of Unleash the Power Within. Make sure you do this. Unleash the Power Within, or UPW for short, might be known best as the Firewalk Seminar. Now, you've heard fans and haters talk about this in many different ways. Some say it's the most transformational moment of their life when they walk across those coals of fire, and others just say it's simply a gimmick. Regardless of what you've heard, the fact is that Tony has guided millions of people, young and old and otherwise, across a 10-foot stretch of burning hot coals without getting burned. How is this possible, and why is it such a vital part of this transformational process? Well, to answer that, I'll have to take you all the way back to the beginning. Most professional seminars or classes usually start with some kind of a 9 a.m., have a lunch break, end at 5, with a leisurely gathering for cocktails at the bar. Well, that is the exact opposite of what happens at a Tony program, so consider yourself forewarned. Day 1 for UPW, the doors open around 4 or 5, and you get all the fixins that you would expect at a Taylor Swift or Britney Spears concert without all the teenagers. When the doors open, people rush to the stage. The crowd chants, "Tony, Tony, Tony," and all of Tony's team are high-fiving you on the way as you kind of rush your seat. I must admit, when I first attended, this was out of my comfort zone, and I've actually seen people leave during this time, like before it even starts. I can't say that I would suggest anything different for this opening, because it's really just a taste of what's to come. There is also a plethora of more hype before Tony finally hits the stage, and when he does, you can even feel the energy raise from there. Now, if you've ever been in a room with this man, he is a giant. But in my experience, you can feel his total intention of really just wanting to serve each person in the room from the stage. Like him or not, the fact is millions of people credit Tony for their personal growth in areas of business and wellness and, just mentality, really in all areas of their life. One caveat here is you may have heard about the profanity that Tony uses from the stage. Now, he's not just using this profanity maybe the way like Gary Vee does. This is well thought out, and he uses this to kind of jar the crowd by, hearing something that's unconventional, something you wouldn't expect. And this helps to take people out of their comfort zone and helps them to start to react differently. So this is something that he got from the Freudian studies. In every case that I've witnessed, Tony seems to know exactly what he's doing, and he walks the person along a caring path, if I can say it that way, and everyone that I've seen has ended in a really good outcome for the person that he's working with. So once Tony's out on stage, he'll gain rapport with the room, which he will take as much time as he needs to do. For the rest of that evening, Tony teaches something called the Triad. The Triad is the 3 elements that control a lot of the outcomes that we have in our life. And what they are what are you focusing on, or focus? What are you telling yourself, or your language? And then how are you using your body, your physiology? In order to complete the firewalk without getting burned, you have to control all 3 of these things like perfectly. He teaches this lesson using incantations, which is, if you haven't heard that word before, something that you say to yourself over and over again with emotion, and eventually it changes everything. Along with putting your body into a peak position, as well as with the language, this gets you prepared to walk across fire. And you repeat this over and over and over again that night. So you've got thousands of people in the room on Tony's signal, repeating this process with emotion. And after a few hours, I can positively say you are ready to walk across fire. This process is very intense, but think about it. For the length of your life, you've been using your focus, language, and your physiology in the same habitual way. The intense style of retraining the mind and body gives you a chance at being able to make some changes in a really short amount of time. Walking across fire makes you feel like you can do anything. And by the way, Tony will go as long as it takes to make sure that the crowd is super ready to do this. So night number 1 could end up at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. You just walk out of there feeling completely buzzed and utterly exhausted at the same time, ready to crash for just a few hours when the doors open again at 8 a.m. Have you ever wondered why we do the things we do? Like, why are you standing outside of your ex-girlfriend's house at 2 a.m. in the morning begging to take her back, only to break up the next day? Why are you worrying about the approval of other people that you don't even really like? Many of the answers you seek can be found when you learn and understand this thing Tony teaches called the 6 human needs. Tony teaches that while we all have the same needs, we are individually shaped by our own experience and major emotional events that happen throughout life, mostly in childhood, but of course we can obviously have emotional experiences in adulthood as well that really shape us. To describe this, I took a reading direct from Tony's website. It says, all dysfunctional behaviors arise from the inability to consistently meet these core needs. But people's needs aren't just behind bad decisions we make, they're also behind all of the great things that humans accomplish. Understanding your own needs and psychology can not only help you to avoid toxic behaviors and habits, but it can also help you to achieve all of your goals. By the way, if you're liking this video so far, check this one out. This is a full review that I did on Tony Robbins' Mastery University. And what that consists of is 4 different seminars. I go kind of deep dive and break down what it's like to attend Mastery University and maybe why you would consider signing up and doing this whole package. So if that's something you're interested in hearing about, check that video out. Let's get back to it. So what are these 6 human needs? Well, the first one is certainty. And this is the need to know that you can feel comfortable or in control at some level. Think of this as survival. The next one is uncertainty or variety. This would be the need for change, a new stimuli, something different, something new. The third is significance. This is a feeling of uniqueness or importance, that you're special and different in some way. Fourth is connection and love. And this could be whether it's family or friendship, but ultimately intimate love. The fifth is growth, or learning to become better, maybe make some forward progress, feel like you're growing. And the 6th need is contribution. This would be making a positive difference through your being and your actions, i.e. charity, philanthropy, or just feeling like you're contributing to, the people around you. While we all have these same needs, we all have 1 or 2 that might, let's say, rise to the top. And with a little practice, this becomes very easy to spot. For example, someone who is driving need is variety might lead a more adventurous life or have a harder time settling down, as where somebody who is driven by significance might be ever reaching for the next goal or, ambition, or maybe even need to be the center of attention. Now, none of these needs are necessarily positive or negative because we all have them. And in their own right, they can manifest in different ways, such as someone who has the need for certainty might always keep a really clean house with everything in its place, or save every penny perhaps for a rainy day, or use food for comfort and lose control of their weight. So they both have positives and negatives. You get the idea. Deeply learning the 6 human needs honestly truly changed how I approach life and helped me not only to fix some of the things that I was self-sabotaging, but also helped me to become a better business owner and earn leadership positions in my corporate jobs. I honestly consider the 6 human needs one of the most important lessons that I've learned in the last 2 decades. Now, here's an activity that you can do to see which of the needs are driving you. Before we get into the activity, I would just love to know, are you learning something from this video? Have you been considering attending a Tony seminar? If you have, drop it in comments. Maybe you have a question about what I'm covering here, or you disagree with all of it. Either way, would love to hear about it in comments below. Let's get a conversation started about this. Back to the video. So how do you identify your current driving needs? Start by making a list of the 6 needs and ask yourself in order, which is the most to least important. Now try not to overthink this. When you're doing this, just really listen to your gut. Ask yourself, is certainty my top? Is significance? Maybe it's growth or contribution. Once you number them in order, you should be able to see somewhat of a reflection in your life. As I use the example, if certainty is your top, maybe you're always wanting to feel comfortable, or your thing is just keeping it par for the course. If variety is yours, then maybe you would see that, hey, I'm a bit more adventurous. I like to change things up a lot. So you should be able to see this reflect in your life. In my example, I placed significance first. And this is pretty reflective in my life now for the past few years, because I left a career to do something that's actually pretty different as a career, which is video and YouTube. And next on my list was growth. And let me tell you, there is a learning curve when you're trying to do videos like this. So I feel like every day I'm making a huge mistake and learning something new. These always evolved. The last time I did this activity, my list looks nothing like what it looks like today. So I promised you in the beginning of this video that I would share the good, the bad, and the ugly for those of you who are thinking about attending UPW. So here it is. First, I just have to say that I love overall that when you leave a Tony program, if you play along, you can make significant changes in a small amount of time in almost any area of your life. However, there are a ton of activities that are meant to take you out of your comfort zone and break your old patterns so you can make a change. Because Tony is only Tony and there's thousands of people there, these activities are led by zone coaches. And in my experience, sometimes I've matched up really good with a zone coach and I was able to take the activity on. There were other times where I didn't really connect with the person that was my zone coach and I had trouble getting through the activity. I didn't enjoy it and therefore couldn't really play along. Now, even after being a Tony fan for years, there are just some activities that I feel silly the entire time, and to me this is really the biggest downside in my opinion. And honestly, if you're a closed-minded person who's not willing to get out of your comfort zone, I could see this being a deal breaker. Another thing that you could consider a downside is that your current peer group won't understand what you're on when you get home, because you do go through some changes for sure. And because of these changes, you're going to want to make some connections while you're at the seminar with people that you come in contact with, because if not, you will annoy the crap out of your friends and family. And finally, bring snacks and water when you go to a Tony Robbins seminar. Don't show up empty-handed. There's not a hot dog stand. You will be in long activities for sometimes 6 hours at a time, 7 hours at a time before there's a break for any kind of food or anything like that. So be prepared to be on your feet for a long time, to be putting out a lot of energy, and make sure if you get hungry, you bring food and snacks. Now, the final day of UPW is all about energy and vitality. So you have the energy to achieve what it is you're trying to do, your purpose. And on this day, Tony teaches from cutting edge science how to alkalize and energize your body. And he brings in a ton of different experts now, top level psychologists and health professionals in the world that help contribute to this day. So it's not just Tony on stage. So you want to expect that when you go to an event, that Tony is, the main speaker, but he brings in partners and other people that, to get the message across. So, is it worth it to go to a Tony Robbins event? In my opinion, hands down, with the positives and the negatives, the positives outweigh the negatives, absolutely. And I think anybody that can get a little bit open, allow themselves to be a little bit vulnerable, and want to actually change something in their life should definitely attend UPW if you've been thinking about it. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it and you want to hear a little bit more about it, check out this one. This is my full breakdown of Mastery University. That's Tony's 4-part series. Absolutely, I did it myself back in the early 2000s, and I'd love to do it again when I get a little bit of time in my life. But nevertheless, it was a game changer for me. Gave me the best decade of my life. And if you want to hear more about it, be sure to check that video out. And of course, make sure you do this.